Hello and welcome back to the E-Arsenal podcast. We're here once again to talk everything and all things Arsenal related, to reflect on the West Ham game, certainly a certain amount of deliberation about our defence, or lack thereof it, and everything else. And we've got a full house this evening. I'm delighted to welcome back to the show Conor. Hello, Conor.
Hello. Did you miss me?
Yes, like something that I can't remember a simile for right now. But yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
Know that you were missed, Conor.
Okay.
Is everything good?
Everything is good. I had a winner on the Grand National for the first time.
I say.
So
You had, I forgot who won now.
rule the world.
Indeed, very good. I had Guniella, for obvious reasons. You know. But perhaps we can go around the table and see how we all did at the weekend, or perhaps not. Also on the show once again is Rob. Good evening, Robert.
Hello.
Can I call you Robert? No.
Not for the whole show.
Okay, right. All right.
I did not have a winner on the National, sadly, on Saturday. I went for the Romford Pele, but I'm not sure if he's still alive.
I think that was the other two. That was the other choice that I looked at. Yeah. Okay, and he was. Did he fall?
He didn't finish, so he might be
I see where you're
a
going.
dead horse right now.
So he might be glue. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Let's not go down that route. Excellent. And also with us this evening is Matt. Hello, Matt. How did you do on the horses the weekend?
I didn't bet on the horses, so
right.
yeah.
Okay. Is there a backstory behind that? I'm not suggesting
not really, no.
you have a history of gambling problems or anything, but I don't know.
No, I just chose not to.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So obviously, my horse came fifth, and depending on who you may or may not have placed a bet with, that was enough to get a return, albeit an extremely small return. But all returns are welcome. I'd also like to point out the fact that I'm slightly under the weather this evening, so I will do my best not to do my best impression of Walter White for 1 week. So we'll see how we get on with that. So West Ham, it was another strange game, and it's increasingly bizarre Premier League season we're having this year. A tough game, you know. I would have taken a point at the start of the game without shadow of a doubt, and that's what we got. But the thing is, Lanzini could have scored twice. One of his goals was certainly onside, so I think we could have been behind. But then to go 2-0 up and think, hold on a sec, this is a bit easy, and then obviously that's not the case because of Andy Carroll's just rare goal scoring brace, like as he likes to do, as we were talking off air, against us. He has done for Newcastle in the past. I believe he scored for West Ham against us also. So yeah, I mean, it's a great game, but I really couldn't care less about that. I wanted to win the game, so you know, hands up. Let's talk about that. Rob, is that a good point? I mean, probably not, is it?
I mean, watching it back on Saturday night, I was thinking, how did we get out of there with a point?
Right.
It's not the place that we lost the title, but had we not been so frustrated with the results of probably the last month and a half, and probably possibly even longer, we'd probably be going, what a great game of football it was. But it was just so frustrating to go 2 up and be like, it's just like Everton, it's just like Watford, and then to be pegged back so easily. And watching it, really, we could have lost that game by quite a few. They had a couple of penalty shouts and several goals disallowed as well.
Yeah.
We got fortunate to get the point, really, in the end. Alex Iwobi, sensational again. Another 2 assists.
Fantastic,
has been absolutely brilliant since he's come to the team. Even though I think I said in January that I don't think he's going to quite, be ready just yet.
I'm
Obviously,
glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, Rob, because I was going to bring you to well, not to court, but you know what I mean. Take you to task is the phrase I'm looking for. Sorry, listeners. I mean, where did you think it kind of went wrong? I mean, I'll talk to you guys about this, but I mean, it's become an increasing problem having Hector Bellerin marking the tallest guy on the football field, I would suggest, and not Gabriel, as he should be.
Yeah. Gabriel seemed to play his way back out of the team and possibly out of the club on Saturday. I mean, he's really not there because Mertesacker's... No, rather, he's not there because he's been good. He's sort of there because Wenger seems to have lost all trust in Mertesacker, which is a bit worrying,
That's
seeing as I think...
I think that's the magnitude of what we're saying here. We're missing Per Mertesacker.
Yeah, which is a bit alarming if the manager's not seeming to trust him anymore. But I mean, we desperately need another centre half. I mean, Koscielny's not been as bad as he had been previously, but it's clear that he needs someone there as well because, I mean, he can't do all the work by himself, and Gabriel doesn't seem to be giving him the cover that he needs.
Exactly. Well, like I've said on many occasions, that Koscielny's taking step backs whilst Gabriel is playing like that. He can make it really, he can be this imposing figure, and he can get up there, and he's got good height on him, and he does when he does make a good clearance. It's like, oh yeah, but where maybe that's only say 30% of the time, and the rest is just it's either a red card tackle waiting to happen, or just a lack of positioning and a lack of defensive nous, and I can't see that changing. Matt, what was your take on in terms of Carroll's goals? I mean, he's a very hard player to mark. Granted, you've seen that against many teams, but I mean, I don't think that should be happening. We've got to stick our tallest man on the tallest striker, surely.
Yeah, I just don't understand how we can go from 2-0 up and absolutely coasting to bottling it in typical Arsenal fashion. No words really for the way we conceded the goals, to be honest.
Well, it's two words. It's mental weakness.
Yeah.
Mental fragility.
But yeah, we should... I mean, you mentioned the two disallowed goals, but I don't think we should have lost the game from the position we were in, especially considering we were doing so well in attack. But it all comes down to defence again, as we've mentioned so many times.
Indeed. And I guess come to you, Conor, on your... I mean, what was your take on the defence on Saturday?
Mixed emotions, because we defended superbly
to a point.
up until the two goals, obviously, in the first half. But every ball that went into the box, we seemed to clear very well. Gabriel was even playing well. And I thought it was good. We seemed to... the fullbacks didn't seem to commit too much in the first half. I think if you look at it back, they almost sat with the holding midfield players when they were on the opposite side of the attack. I just thought Carroll was just too much for us on the day. His power and presence. And I think I saw a few Arsenal fans say on Twitter that we should have started Mertesacker to almost nullify Carroll, but
It's easy to say that, isn't it?
Exactly. I think it was a surprise that he started anyway. So I don't think Wenger can just throw Mertesacker in there for the sake of maybe a few more headed clearances.
No, completely. I mean, certainly what you will get with Gabriel is like even a tiny bit of pace, like a small turn of pace, and not like a tank. So there is that. So, I mean, when Gabriel's on the field instead of the BFG, then you've got that. You might say Mertesacker's a bit more solid, but I don't know. I mean, this is what I think Gabriel's got promise, but I don't see him growing. Like, I've had many conversations with fellow Arsenal fans about, but Koscielny was exactly the same, and I've said that, he might grow, but I can't see it. I just can't see it.
He said the other day that he wanted to reach Koscielny's level, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, right. What if that was the level of Koscielny from a couple of weeks ago? Then he's certainly reached it anyway. I mean, the one that couldn't pass out for Toffee. But again, I don't blame Koscielny. That I just blame his lack of a solid centre-back partnership. And there's rumours now that Hummels is looking like he's going to leave Dortmund, so he's on the market. And I've heard rumours that it might be Arsenal, which I'd be absolutely over the moon for. But I suppose on the subject of Koscielny, actually, there's a little bit of a flashpoint at the start of the game. So he got his yellow card. I'll go on the table again for this. Was his tackle? Did you think it was could have been a red, Connor?
Who Koscielny's tackle?
Yeah. It's kind of
I,
late. It was from behind, and I mean, he clipped his legs. In fact, whilst I'm thinking about it, perhaps maybe what about Gabriel? I mean, the ball had gone, and then he does like a roundhouse kick on the floor. I think the ball had gone, but like, I mean, it just that. I'm trying to look positive about it. That looked really bad. That
looked worse.
Yeah,
definitely. There's Gabriel's temper again. That could have cost us even more than 2 points.
Exactly. And
he can't be trusted, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree. Rob, do you echo that statement?
Yeah, I was surprised. Well, I mean, he got very lucky that Carroll got the foul on him, but I mean, he probably really should have been sent off for that. I mean, kicking out at Carroll, who was at the point clean through as well on goal, pretty much. So, yeah, I agree with Conor. He really cannot be trusted at the minute.
Yeah, Matt?
Yeah, no, I agree as well. But could Carroll not have been sent off early on as well? I mean, I've heard sort of mixed opinions about
the
his
elbow?
tackle.
No.
Well, that and the tackle on, I think it was Koscielny, was it? In the first half, where he scrapes down the back of his ankle from behind. Okay. Which I think could easily have been a red card.
And that's what brought on the afters, wasn't it? When he got booked. And
then he goes on to obviously rescue West Ham in a sense as well. So
yeah. I think we had a little glimpse of the future into the fact that El Neni and Coquelin might not work, unfortunately. I mean, it could be just a one-off, but I mean, when they came off, and I know the game's in a different position, and again, we have the benefit of hindsight, but when those two came off, we didn't concede another goal, and Ramsey came on. He might have shored up the midfield a little bit. I mean, what do you think about that, Rob? Did you notice it? Really? Did you notice it? Did you notice El Neni or Coquelin? And I think Coquelin was quite advanced in the first half, I believe, and he was slipping passes. He had what I like to call a pre-assist for Iwobi, and he slipped the ball in to.
That was a great pass.
Yeah. But I don't know about El Neni. I mean, maybe it just wasn't his game, but that brings up questions again. Once again, like what is the ideal partnership going to be? I don't know personally.
I don't know. I mean, I've really liked El Neni since he's come in, but I mean, again, there has always sort of been a thought from me that it was almost like the masking tape that's just sort of holding everything together just for the time being, and eventually you are just going to have to go and buy again anyway. I've liked that partnership, and I don't think it was any real coincidence that came with a reverse in form. But Saturday obviously wasn't the best. But
what did you think of Ramsey when he came on? He had half an hour.
Better than it had been. Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know.
That's quite damning.
Well, I'd sort of just. I mean, I don't know what to make of Aaron Ramsey really this season. I mean, the right midfield seemed to be ideal for him. Where to play was almost slightly reminiscent of Freddie Ljungberg in a sense, but Alexis Sanchez is very much.
You just went there.
I did go. Well, no. I mean, if anything, it was just more an advanced central midfield player being moved out of position. Okay. I wouldn't say there was anything in the performances that reminded me of Ljungberg. It was just sort of the situation rather than anything else. Before I get like loads of Twitter messages going, "What do you mean Ramsey's the same as Ljungberg?"
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I compared in previous episodes Ozil to Bergkamp, and I got a bit of a bashing for that. But I don't. Well, obviously, I see what my opinion is, but obviously, because I'm the host. But I mean, do you guys see where I'm coming from on that angle?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Good. It was a statement, wasn't it, of signing a marquee player, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, more in terms of like, I'd say Ozil was more. He's definitely more languid than Bergkamp, but they've definitely got the same height of kind of skill level, and
they're both world class.
Yeah. Well, with Bergkamp, I mean, I can't absolutely. He's one of my favourite Arsenal players of all time. Just the Iceman, just brilliant. What about Matt? What about your views on Ramsey when he came on?
I thought he did all right when he came on. I mean, there was that extra sort of drive that we're kind of used to from him, and there was that lovely bit of skill where he sort of managed to flick it over the defender, I think it was, and then bounced out for a corner or something. I can't remember. But yeah, no, I thought that he definitely added something to the game that we were lacking at that point. But whether or not he can come back into the side and put in better performances than he was doing in the new year is another matter, though.
Goodness me, I've forgotten who we've got the weekend. This is awful. Help me out, please. Anybody? Oh, we've got West Ham next Wednesday. West Brom next Wednesday. Sorry.
It's Sunderland,
Palace,
I think,
isn't it?
is it? Is it Palace?
Yes. Is it Palace?
This is awful.
Goodness me.
It is Palace. Yeah, it is.
Okay,
Palace.
So Palace, it's at home or away? It's at home, isn't it?
Home,
At
yeah.
home, yeah.
Got two home games in a row.
That's right. Yeah. So are we thinking Ramsey's going to start that?
If not, it'll start the midweek game, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I think he'll start both. I have to say, but we'll see about that. Yeah. So Iwobi, I mean, Rick mentioned it briefly. I mean, he's just looking like he's so confident, and this could all change next season, of course. But is Iwobi's progress? I do feel like I'm repeating myself here because we've been here with Chamberlain and etc. Now they just made zero progress. But is Iwobi now? Is he taking away that need to kind of look into the transfer market for another like-minded player? What do we think, Conor? Or do you think he's more of a squad player next season?
Well, you can't really say he's a squad player at this point because of his form. If he's doing well, then keep him in the side. But I wouldn't say because he's doing well, then we shouldn't add more quality to the squad because obviously there are better players than him out there. But I wouldn't want to stop his development.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? That's the key here.
Yeah, exactly. But didn't we do that with Fabregas and the whole Wilshere and Ramsey situation? So I guess if there's quality out there, then buy them. If they're available and they can help our title challenge, hopefully next season, then get them. But I've been so impressed with Iwobi since he's come in. I mean, he was a force for the under-21s, and we were just talking about our youth teams off there. But he was really towards the back end of last season when Akpom went out on loan, he was really the shining light. And you can just see his intelligence. Like for the second goal, where the ball gets played into him and he kind of knocks it up in the air.
Yeah.
With, I think it was Ogbonna that was really like pressurising him, and he kind of knocks it away from him. And then to have the intelligence and the quality to play that ball in like with that amount of the weight on it, it's just so impressive for someone that's 19.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I've noticed, it's like, I mean, from a distance, like Iwobi and Welbeck look like exactly the same players for me. I think that's quite that's a tribute to Iwobi how he's almost just slotted into the team. Like we've almost got two Welbecks. I mean, Iwobi does do slightly different things, but Iwobi does like getting forward quite a bit as well. Obviously, since now he's taken the trademark slippers off, I think he's got some red boots on now. It looks better. Yeah. Thoughts on Iwobi, Rob? I mean, do you think? I mean, yeah. Would he same question to you basically?
I don't think it hurts to go out and buy someone. Just because we have been here so many times before with young players that we think they're going to be the one, and then it turns out that they get injured or lose form in some cases, and we go, why didn't we buy someone? So, I mean, like Conor said, I don't want to hurt his development, but we play a lot of games over the season. You know, he's guaranteed to have some part of next season the way it's going. So, I don't think it hurts to go out and buy someone with a bit more experience, who's a bit older, someone that he could almost learn from as well, and compete with. I don't think at 19 you can just put everything on his shoulders and go, right, you're Arsenal's left midfielder now, go and win us the title, because it's too early for him still, even though he is playing absolutely sensational at the minute. So personally, if there's someone out there that we can put in and you can have both of them in that squad, brilliant, go and buy them, because I don't want to just be going into the season with just the one and, it blowing up in our faces come March and we go, oh, the 19, well, he'd be probably about 20 by then. The 20-year-old kid, he can't carry the whole team by himself.
I think he is different to some of the young players we've had in the past. Say, we mentioned Chamberlain, because Chamberlain kind of made an impact through his goals and direct style almost. But you can see there's such intelligence with Iwobi in that, like, in the central midfield role. I don't think he's going to be a one-season wonder, almost.
Yeah, I was going to say there with Chamberlain, sort of insert your own caption, unfortunately. But Matt, your views on Iwobi quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything that's been said about Iwobi. But I think the good thing about him compared to someone like Walcott, for example, is that he can play sort of anywhere across that sort of front three. Like, he can play either flank or in the middle. When he played there in the FA Cup, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he was good in that position. But yeah, I don't think, like, as much as you wouldn't want to hurt his development, if there is someone out there, then by all means go out and do your best to get him, because I don't think you can put that much pressure on a young man, as Rob said, to sort of carry the team when it's clear that we do need more quality in the side to win the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to throw this out to all three. Was there any other player that really stood out for you during the West Ham game?
For Arsenal,
Yes,
you mean?
yes. Or West Ham, if you like, yeah. I think we did a good job on Payet, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Didn't score a free kick.
no, he didn't. And even I think we restricted him to 2 from 30 yards out, which, you know, if we're on the ball, and our defence and Ospina is, then that should be fine. What about Payet scored? That was a disallowed goal, and it was a foul because Carroll had his arms like he was dancing with it was Koscielny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And how that can't be a foul? It's like, oh, that's a goal, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that was definitely a foul. But I think Payet was. I think in the last 10 minutes when West Ham were going for the win, he was quite a threat. But other than that, I think we did a good job on him. I would say, who is probably in the top 3 players of the season. I would suggest.
I think he had spells in the game where he kind of drift. Like, I think again when they were doing well towards the back end of the first half, I think he kind of pulled the strings a little bit. But I think the commentator on when I watched the game back, not the BT Sports one, obviously, but he was saying that he kind of drifts in and out all the time.
Yeah.
And that kind of prohibits him from being at a club like Arsenal or a club like PSG or something.
Who, Payet?
Yeah.
I think you could say that about a lot of players, though, because Ozil tends to sort of drift in and out of games, and then he produces that moment of sort of brilliance that sort of he wins you the game.
Absolutely. I would suggest if a player can drift in and out of the game, they're even more priceless to a club more than anything else. Not that they're like, they shouldn't be at a top club. I think Payet will. I'd like us to go after Payet, but I mean, there's always a risk of second season syndrome. I can't particularly see that, but I think he'll stay at West Ham now. They've got the Olympic Stadium move in the summer, and they've got a lot of money now to spend. So I think they could easily. I've always got a bit of a soft spot for West Ham, so I'd quite like to see them turn into a top 6 club. Who that means dropping out, we'll see. Okay, so I want to talk about Piers Morgan's comments today in the press. So, yes, obviously for anyone who listens to, anyone who's on Twitter, anyone who follows Arsenal will be aware of Piers Morgan, and anyone who isn't on Twitter will be aware of Piers Morgan and the colossal, that he can be sometimes. However, I've got to totally agree with his comments today. That basically he said that Leicester's unstoppable march toward the Premier League has exposed Arsene Wenger's excuses, and it's almost become a sham. I'll give you the quotes exactly. Leicester City have got hunger and desire. I've not seen any Arsenal score for about 10 years. Since the Invincibles did their stuff and got shipped out within 18 months. I've said for 8 years now that Arsene Wenger had run his course at Arsenal. And he goes on, he sort of waffles a bit. He had a spectacular first date, blah, 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 blah. So what you're watching Leicester, watching a team with real determination, with just no big stars. This is the key, I think. So they've got a proper team, with Greece. They won the Euros basically by not attacking and just defending. At least, Leicester do attempt to attack, but it's kind of a similar point. So, I mean, do you agree with his comments? I'll go around the table again. Rob, do you think it's a sham?
My default setting whenever Piers Morgan says something is to jump to the opposite and be
Yes.
like, "What? No!"
And you're about to say but, aren't you? You're about to say but. Yeah, here we go. Right.
I mean, first of all, 8 years. I mean, we did almost win the league in 2008, and we got to a Champions League semi-final the next year. So I slightly called. What's a nicer way of saying BS? I'll just say BS. But
okay.
Yeah, sadly, he's sort of right. All I'd say is, Arsenal would. Well, that's a bit of a stupid point, I guess, because we would take a title-winning side. But if we'd have signed some of the players that Leicester had signed in trying to get a team that's the sum of its own parts, as supporters, I don't know. It's so different because it is Arsenal and there is some sort of level of expectation. And Leicester, had they finished 17th this year with that team, it would have been a great achievement for them. So I don't know. I get where he's coming from, but I'm just sort of trying to take that opposite viewpoint, which I always do with Piers Morgan.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree with what you're saying. I mean, Leicester, who have they brought in over the summer? They brought Kante, who's been a massive difference. They had Drinkwater last season, but he wasn't really explosive. They brought in Fuchs, I think, who's made a massive difference, and probably Huth as well. But they've had and Okazaki up front. Other than that, they had Mahrez last season, who was just incredibly flaky player, and Ranieri's come in and he's knitted the whole team together. What's also interesting is they've barely had any injuries to their key player, apart from maybe I think Jeff Schlupp had a knee injury. And Vardy missed out he didn't really miss a lot of game time. I think he missed one or two games because he had surgery during the international break, I think. Or not an international break, a domestic break for I think it was the FA Cup or the League Cup. And that just screams out we've been saying for a long time, why is there so many injuries in the Arsenal squad? That is, from what he says, that comes out as the biggest kind of semblance of sham that I can kind of grasp, I think. Matt, what are your views?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it a sham.
Okay.
But I do get sort of where he's coming from, that Leicester sort of just come out of absolutely nowhere, and yet somehow Arsenal still are unable to maintain a challenge throughout the whole of a season. And it is ridiculous, really. But
it's one that, as Paul Merson said, should cost him his job.
Yeah.
Should.
But then again, yeah, I mean, at another club it probably would. I mean, that's another problem that Arsenal at the moment is he's sort of unsackable in a way. He sort of has to.
I'm gonna
leave
touch,
himself.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on this in a minute, but so I'll come to Conor first. Same question, Conor.
Yeah, I do agree. From what you've said, I do agree, and with him for probably most of it. I'll have to go and read the full thing because it sounds quite interesting.
Just gloss over it because you don't really need to read every word because it is Piers after all.
Yeah, I think for the first time he does have evidence for he's backing up what he's saying with facts almost rather than opinions.
Yeah.
Because they have come out of the blue, and I think you talked about Wenger. I think with Spurs and say Van Gaal, they're kind of viewing these. Well, maybe not Van Gaal, but they're kind of in transitional periods. Like Spurs will view this as a successful season despite not winning the league because they have come on leaps and bounds.
Well, yeah, hold on a sec. They've not won the league yet. I mean, I'm still I'm still entertaining the horrendous possibility it might.
Yeah, and we haven't gone anywhere, despite winning the FA Cups, which have of course been brilliant. We haven't gone anywhere in the league for a while. I mean, arguably, if we've got a stronger squad, but we're still finishing third and fourth. And I think that's where his biggest critics,
I think the biggest problem is Wenger's always spoken about. Oh yes, we've never had external help money. Leicester have, but they haven't really spent a whole lot of money, not really yet. So from that point of view, I think I totally agree with what Morgan says there. Going back to what Matt said, what is it going to take to get rid of Arsene Wenger. I'm thinking now more in the under the lines of a military coup, just to just it's the only thing that's going to work. I mean, what can happen really? I don't know.
Not a clue.
I think it's looking.
I think it would have to take something like a massive player revolt, almost
siege
like what
at the Emirates, siege, the castle, pitchforks, everything. It's like,
not quite
burn the
that
witch,
far, but
burn the witch.
But in a similar sense of how it all fell apart for Mourinho at Chelsea earlier this season, I think it would really have to take the player, because all the players in the minute, Ozil came out a couple of weeks ago and said, I'm here because of Arsene Wenger, and that hasn't changed. And
then he goes
that's
on
only going to be.
But then he goes on to criticise him as well.
But I think fair enough. I think that's a player that isn't going to take this lying down. But I think you can criticise the manager but still show loyalty to him, which he has.
What do you think Wenger said to him? It's no secret that he's taken him to one side and he's had words with him. It's not quite crisis meeting as perhaps the Daily Mail or the Mirror might suggest. But what do you think was said in that?
Well, I'm sure he probably told him to wind his neck in a little bit. I think he was just upset that. I think he was upset that he was saying the title was gone, and Wenger, I think, is probably trying to keep some belief that we can win it, just so the players keep winning. Because I think just telling players keep winning so we can finish third probably is lost on them a little bit now.
It's just boring, isn't it? How many times do they want to hear that?
I think one of the worrying things. Well, it could have been worrying in another season is that if we perform like this in a season where the usual kind of top 3, top 4 had also performed to the standard they can be, we would get a top 4.
I know, but we always manage to do enough. Like enough teams will fall apart, and then we'll just do enough, and we'll just sort of cling onto the cliff edge and swing ourselves up at the last minute. Do you know what I mean? Like Indiana Jones style. So I don't know. I mean, it looks like we've got another year of him. I feel quite depressed now. We spoke last week. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say it's going to be Wenger's going to choose when he goes, and maybe that'll be next season, or
as we said,
maybe he'll entertain the contract.
I think it was. I think right. No, don't say that. We said last week. I think we said last week. I don't have a problem with it doing one more year. This is your last go. Spend big. Just throw your balls to the wall, or whatever you do. Just go mad. And along the lines of madness, as we were discussing offline, is there's now pretty widespread reports that Granit Xhaka is in talks with the club. Borussia Mönchengladbach, they want £35 million for him, for 23-year-old. But I think we're only going to go to 22 or 24.
That sounds so arse.
Yeah, but I mean that's a lot of money to spend.
I think that's understandable.
Yeah, I agree with. I do agree with that. And he's 6'1", but he's still very young, and he could be great. But then we don't know. Like we don't have a history of buying too many players that were just very, very, very good. Whereas others do. So if Xhaka went to, I don't know. I think he's being compared to like a Matic. But what kind of Matic that is, if that's just the Matic of last season or this season, and he can't really get games now, not too many, is another point. So, I mean, I know, Conor, I think you're a bit of you're interested in Xhaka, correct?
Quite the opposite. I was asking you if any of you knew anything about him.
Okay, right. Wait, so you are interested? You are interested?
I'm interested in knowing more. I literally know nothing.
Okay. I'll give you his stats very quickly. So yeah, 6'1", 23-year-old. He's a Swiss international, has been since 2011.
Nice.
And he has 6 goals.
He scored at the World Cup. I was watching the goals the other day, and he actually scored.
He did.
There's a plus.
Xhaka he plays next to Shaqiri. I think I used to get him confused. I'm gonna really underline my naivety, confusing Xhaka and Shaqiri. I think there is a Granit Xhaka and a Towlant Xhaka, if I'm correct, or Towlant Shaqiri.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, Towlant Xhaka.
He does have an Albanian brother.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? I feel like we should explore that.
Does he
not
play
tonight.
for Albania?
Yes, he does.
Oh,
No,
well, there we go.
I can't. I think they might have both been born in Albania or somewhere in that region. But there's quite a few players that register for Switzerland. But if Kosovo were to get FIFA recognition, could play for Kosovo, and I think the Xhaka brothers fall under that. So his brother plays for Albania whilst he plays for Switzerland. I'm not entirely sure like the logistics of it all.
So
but
they're umming and ahhing again, like Januzaj did, because he's Kosovan also, and Ibrahimovic is Kosovan born, I believe, and somebody else, but I can't for life remember who. Yeah,
I think Shaqiri might fall under it as well. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but yes. Another quick line on the transfer market is Alexis Sanchez said, "Oh yes, we should get in Alvaro Morata from Juventus." I'd absolutely love that. I think he'd fit right into our team. I think he'd be fantastic. Matt, go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to agree with that. I think he'd be a top signing. I'm not actually sure of his record this season, but I mean, he certainly seems as though he'd be the type of player to come in and do well for us.
Yeah.
I think he's quite young as well, isn't he?
He's 23 as I'm loading up. Yes, 23, and he's 6'2". Yeah, he's surprisingly tall because he's what's going to happen is he's on Real Madrid are going to instigate a buyback clause in his contract from Juve and then sell him to the highest bidder, which unfortunately might not be us. So we'll probably lose out to him. But that's the sort of player that could go out and buy it. So right, if you get that, that's it. Fair enough. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy with that, and also make sure he's not the only player, but that would be a player that I'd be really really keen to see. Yeah, so he's got 14 goals in only 59 appearances with Juve, but he's a team player. I think it was against Bayern, I believe, in the second leg when it looked like Bayern were going to get knocked out, when he ran the length of the pitch almost and slipped the ball in for. Goodness me, who was it? I can't remember. I think might have been Cuadrado. Yeah, possibly. I think he'd fit right in. Guys?
I'm just a bit concerned. His record's not been too great, but I think he lost his starting place to Dybala, didn't he, quite early on?
Dybala, yeah. But I think he's a team player. You would see that, I think, at our club.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really, other than Giroud, I suppose, but even he fits into like a team player. We don't really have a poacher, I'd suggest.
Correct.
So... Yeah, he probably would fit into that front four. I really want Romelu Lukaku.
Yes.
Personally.
I think we're going to be, priced out of him for now. I think 60 million
Probably
is the rumour. So, we have obviously 2 games coming up back to back now. It's Palace and West Brom. And, as it looks like it's going to be a foregone conclusion, really. But I think we've now just got to be Leicester fans, really. I think they've got a tough game against West Ham this weekend. It's on Sunday. In fact, it's after us. So get me blue on for that. Hopefully. And if the thing is, if they do slip up, then we'd have to start talking about a real issue. But let's cross that bridge if and when it comes to it, which hopefully it never does.
I think we have the easiest running, don't we?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. So we should be winning.
Well, the target now is just to get ahead of them, isn't it? Second.
Exactly, yeah.
And we win the game in hand, I think, with 3 points behind them. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
I think majority of bottom half, aren't they? Looking at it now, of our remaining opponents.
I mean, Palace, West Brom,
relegation,
Sunderland.
Still got to play Man
Norwich.
City.
Yeah, Man City away. That's in the final week. So there's some pretty tasty, some very easy, some winnable games, but nothing's winnable at this stage of the season. Okay, thanks a lot for listening, guys. Rob, thank you very much.
No worries.
I've soldiered on, man. I think I've only coughed twice, so I've done well. Can we have your Twitter for us?
Yeah, Rob Tonginson 94.
Thanks very much.
Direct all your Ramsey Ljungberg comparisons to that.
I hope you get a lot.
Oh, I hope so too.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Conor.
Thank you.
Glorious return to the show.
As ever.
Yes. Twitter handle for us, please.
At dsmith19.
Thank you very much. And Matt, cheers.
Pleasure.
Twitter, please.
At Matt B. Dawson.
Great. You can get us on the Facebook page. On Facebook, obviously. Contact us on Twitter at _ArsenalNet. I've been Neil, your host, slightly under the weather host. Hopefully I'll be back into 100% shape again, unlike a lot of our players. So we'll see you then. We're not sure yet if we're going to come to you next week. We might come to you perhaps after the West Brom game on Thursday, but we'll see. We'll keep you updated on that on Twitter. In the meantime, I've been Neil, your host.